Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. So today we've got a special video that was requested by you guys. So over on my Instagram, I did a Q&A and one of the questions that came up was about how I budgeted for my wedding. So I asked you guys if you wanted to see a video all about how I did that, and I got a ton of responses. So I'm here, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna chop it up, we're gonna talk money, budget, and how to plan for your wedding. If you're new to my channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit that notification bell so that you do not miss any of my upcoming videos. And if you like your girl, give this video a thumbs up. So, you're engaged, you're about to get married, where do you start? So, the first thing is start with what you have, not what you want. So this is something that I did with my husband. So we sat down and we put pen to paper and we figured out, okay, Bethel, what amount of money do you have today that you can dedicate towards the wedding? Marvin, what do you have today that you can dedicate towards the wedding? Write those two figures down. Then after that, how much money do you know that you can make and dedicate between now and your wedding? Write that number down for you, write that number down for him, and then put that number together. That is how much cash you know that you've got dedicated towards your wedding. It's really important that you have a realistic conversation with each other and with yourself about actually what you have. It's really easy to start looking at venues, to start looking at countries, to start looking at dresses, and just forget about the numbers and just go based off wants. However, your budget is what is going to determine what your wedding is going to be like. That is just the fact of how it is going to be. And that's how it should be, because at the end of the day, you're trying to get married, you're not trying to go into bankruptcy. So start with what you have first, not what you want. So a little tip as well is do not bank on other people. People will let you down. I know that sounds harsh, but it's the truth. I have come across countless people, myself included, where people have said, oh, like I'm gonna contribute towards this, or I'm gonna give you money towards this. And then if you bank on the fact that you're going to receive this money from that person, and for some reason they're not able to follow through, you are now left in this situation where you're trying to figure out where you're gonna get this money from to pay for this additional thing, whatever it may be. So I really think when you're planning your wedding, focus on what money you and your partner actually have. Or if someone's giving you money up front for something, then perfect. But don't bank on a promise that someone is going to give you something. If you get a gift, if somebody gives you money, then hey, that's great. That's an added bonus. But when it comes to your budget, that has to be the definitive amount that you know you're gonna have and you're gonna have available to spend on your wedding. Another tip, cash, not credit. I think it's really important that by the time you finish your wedding, you're in the clear. You don't have debt, you don't have additional things that you have to pay off, and it's not this kind of like weighted burden that is on you after your wedding. There is something beautiful about being able to finish your wedding and know that it's paid off for, that you didn't go into debt for it. So I really think that one of the best ways to do that is to focus on cash and not credit, because most times when you are dealing with credit, you don't really feel it. So it's really easy to just kind of like put this on a credit card, put this on a credit card, and before you know it, you've gone way above what your budget is going to be, and you're kind of not bothered about it because your emotions are really high, you're really happy, you're excited, and you're not feeling it. So you're just like, oh, you know what, I'll pay it off whenever. But then after the wedding, when reality hits in, you're gonna have to pay off this debt. So I really think that one of the best things that you guys can do for yourselves is to pay with cash and not credit where possible. Another place that I was able to save money when it came to planning my wedding were on the small details that I knew weren't really a big deal. For example, this is the hairpiece that I used. I had a half up, half down hairdo, which was done by Heather Dapper from Hair Definitions, who absolutely slayed my hair. And so when we were talking about what we were gonna do with my hair, I knew that I wanted like a small brooch to just kind of go in the back. I don't know if you call it a brooch or whatever it is, but basically this. And so I had gone to Debenhams, House of Frasers, and I'd looked at some and they were like £15, and the most expensive ones were like £35, £40. And when I told her, she was like, girl, what are you playing yourself at? Like literally, you can get some from eBay. This was £4. pounds. £4. I wore it on my wedding day and it has been in a box ever since. But it's beautiful, like it's great quality. It's got a clip, she was able to pin it together. And then when I changed my hair in the evening, we took it out from like where it was at the top and we literally like bent it because it's made of like flexible material. So we literally twisted it around and then it ended up kind of wrapping around my ponytail, which I had in the evening. So again, went from like 15 or 35 pounds to only spending £4 on this. Another thing as well is your veil. So I'm not going to tell you how much money I spent on my wedding dress, but when it came to looking at veils, the veils at the shop that I bought my dress were, it was like £150 to like £400. These times you wear your veil for what, an hour of your ceremony. I've hardly seen any brides that keep their veils on for the entirety of the day. Like your veil is only really for the morning part of your day. So I tried on some veils. Yeah, they were beautiful. Yeah, they had the embroidery on it or whatever. But ultimately, it made no sense to pay that amount of money for something that is going to go on your head for less than an hour. So we literally found another wedding dress shop that the dresses were a lot cheaper. The dresses that were in that wedding shop I didn't like and I didn't go for. However, the veils that they had were super cheap. So I think my veil ended up being like £40 or £50 as opposed to the £150 to £400 that my wedding dress shop was telling me. Also, I did check on Amazon, I did check on eBay. There were some that were like £5, £10, £15. However, I didn't give myself enough time to be able to order it, which is why I didn't go for it. So again, if you give yourself enough time, you can always order things and then send them back if it's not of the highest quality. So I do wish, had I gone back, I probably would have bought one of them from Amazon that were a lot cheaper, and it most likely it would have been great quality and it would have been fine. But again, that was a great way of where I saved money by not just going with what was at my wedding dress shop, but finding something else that was a ton cheaper and something that is super plain, super simple, and something that I wasn't going to wear on my head for very long as well. So once you've got the actual amount that you know you can spend on your wedding, where do you go from there? For me, I think Excel spreadsheets are the best thing since sliced bread. It's just one of those things where you can organize your brain, you can get everything clearly on paper, you can make amendments, you can track your progress. So I literally just typed into Google like wedding budget Excel spreadsheets and you get a ton of results. I'll put in the description bar the one that I used, or maybe like the top 3 that I can find that you guys can download. They're free, you can jazz them up, you can change the categories, change the titles, and it just makes life so much easier so that you can see everything in a visual place. So the way in which we did it, myself and my husband, is that we had on one side the category and the item, and then the second column was our budget, and then the third column was what it actually was going to cost. So something that we've kind of adopted in our marriage and while we were dating is we like to play a money game. So we made it fun, so it wasn't so sort of like tedious. So for an example, let's say we put shoes, and then the budget for shoes was £100. The game that we played was how much money can we save on this? So for example, for my shoes, I ended up getting them on sale and they were £55. So I put next to it the budget, which was 100, and then next to it £55. So I've now saved £45 of that budget. That £45 can now go towards something else. And what that went to was Marvin's shoes. So for me, my shoes, I didn't really care too much about them. No one was gonna see them. They were gonna be underneath my wedding dress. So I was fine getting a cute, simple pair of shoes. My husband, however, the shoes that we found for him, we really, really liked. They were more than the budget that we'd allocated for them, but also from a practical point of view, he was way more likely to wear his shoes again, as opposed to me. I'm only gonna wear my wedding shoes once. I'm never gonna wear them again. So one of the things that really helps when budgeting your wedding is not increasing your budget, but shifting things and moving things around. So because I didn't spend all of my allocated budget on my shoes, I shifted that £45 onto his budget for shoes. So this kind of means that your top number for your budget stays the same, but you're able to kind of shift and move things around, which really helps in making sure that you're saving money and you're not going over budget. The other thing that I think is so important is to look after the pennies. You will be amazed at how your budget will shift because of the small, tiny little things that you think are insignificant or you wouldn't think to put inside a budget. So when you think of a wedding budget, you think your dress, the groom's suit, your flowers, the decor, the venue. But for example, have you taken into consideration all of your beauty things? So for a bride, that's your nails, your wax, your hair. All of these things add up. And to be honest, it can come up to like £200 or however much that's going to be. Your cab ride to the airport if you're having a destination wedding like I did, the perfume that you're going to buy, all of those little things that individually are like £20, £30, £10, £50, they all add up. And so we literally had to challenge ourselves when we were doing our budget to be so specific. Like I even gave myself an allocated budget for the tiniest little things. Like I knew I wanted to buy a new perfume bottle fragrance that I wanted to use on my wedding day, so I allocated budget for that. I know that I wanted to treat myself to some lingerie, so I put that in there. Like literally it was so to the T, so that I could literally see how much money I was spending on everything. So I really think it's important that you look after the pennies and not just focus on the like big things like the venue and the things like that. So the other thing that I think really helps with your wedding budget is looking at your wedding budget. Now, I know that sounds really stupid and really simple, but there's no point doing a wedding budget and then spending all of this money and not going back to review it. So literally on a weekly basis, sit down and figure out exactly where your money is going, what you've spent, what you've ticked off. Search for the best deals that you can get. Don't just buy something on the first go, especially with brand items. Like take a perfume bottle, for example. Your favorite perfume that you want to buy for your wedding, I guarantee you can find that from 7 different suppliers with 7 different prices. Some will offer you an additional item. So, you know, you might get a perfume bottle from somewhere else that will come with the free lotion or the miniature bottle, or you can get it from somewhere else where maybe you can get points if you shop with that store. So really look around and find the best deal for everything, and then go back on a weekly basis with your partner and analyze your budget. Look at where you're at, because that is the time that you're going to catch yourself if you realize that you've gone over budget, or if you need to sit down and make a decision. But if you're not looking at your budget, or you're looking at it like every month or so, then really you've got nothing to hold you accountable to. So that spreadsheet is like your bread and butter. That is what you are really going to use to keep you on track, to keep you accountable, and also just to keep you in check, to know exactly where everything is going. You can also add dates to it as well. Add little dates into the corner that just kind of says like, this payment is coming out on this day, this is the account that it's coming out, who's going to pay for it. And especially if someone does give you a gift. So like I was really grateful that people offered to gift us with certain things. So in that budget, I would just remove that amount and just replace it with the word gift. So I know that that thing is completely paid for, that's already come out, but it wasn't money that came out of our budget. So again, a big tip is it's all well and good you doing a budget, but you have to look at it. I want to give you guys some practical things that you can actually implement when planning your wedding so that you can save your money. So here are my 10 top tips for saving money when planning your wedding. Tip number 1, review your items before you purchase it. To give you an example, we had a destination wedding, and so one of the things that our wedding planner had suggested to us was that we could hire in furniture to basically put inside the house so that people could sit down and lounge. Now, when you're having a consultation meeting, picture it. You're in a hotel, I'm with my fiance, I'm sitting in front of my wedding planner, you're planning your wedding, you're excited. Budget is not the first thing that is coming to mind in that moment. So immediately I'm like, yeah, that would look so amazing. I love the idea of it. She showed us pictures of like these white couches. I was like, yes, it looks chic, it looks stunning, we're getting it. Then the invoice came and we were like, I'm sorry, who decided that we were going to get this furniture? Why do we need it? Do we even want people to be sitting down at our wedding? So then we kind of had to just sit down and review it. And that kind of showed us how easy it is to get ahead of yourself. So after that, me and my husband decided every single purchase that we make, we are not putting money towards it unless we have sat down, we have reviewed it, and we have 100% double checked that this is something that we actually need. The next tip, know what items to splurge on and what items not to splurge on. So this will all come down to your personal preference and what is important to you. Prior to our wedding, me and my husband kind of already were very clear on the things that we wanted to spend money on. So we said we wanted to spend money on our honeymoon. So our honeymoon was, I think we paid for our honeymoon actually before we even paid for most of our wedding. We went away for 3 weeks. We knew that we wanted to go to more than one place. So that for us was a really big deal. So we put a good amount of a budget aside towards that. We knew that we wanted to spend money on the things that mattered most to us, the things that we were going to keep. So an example, our rings, things that we would wear again, as opposed to spending things on like decor or things that don't last beyond the day of the wedding. So a practical tip, figure out what is the most thing that is important to you. Me personally, I don't really care for shoes. I genuinely just don't. So I bought these really just cheap, cute pumps. They're from a brand called Pink by Paradox. They're really dirty because I haven't had them cleaned since my wedding day. But you can get them in like Debenhams, House of Fraser. I'll put a link of them below. It's just a simple ivory cord. It's cushioned inside, so it's super, super comfy. And it's got like a nice little brooch at the front. It was perfect. No one's gonna see them, so I didn't feel the need to splurge on like designer shoes that I knew were probably gonna be uncomfortable and that I probably wasn't gonna wear again. So these were on sale for £55 and I got them from House of Fraser's. So I was able to save money on that. As a person, I'm somebody that really likes fine jewelry. I tend to either wear like a stud, a small droop earring, or like a pearl. So Swarovski is one of my favorite jewelry brands. So these earrings that I'm actually wearing right now, I had my eye on them for the longest time. So I think these were like £85 or £90. And I remember at the time thinking, okay, that's like, it's pricey for a pair of earrings. But I could justify it because I knew that it was, number one, something I really loved and something I would wear over and over and over again. And so I would get a lot for my money with it. So I think these are the kind of decisions that you have to make. Another tip, flowers. So I was the only person at my wedding that had real flowers. My bridesmaids had faux flowers. So these are, I've just pulled these from my office. I've got like a vase in the office with these in them. They're just synthetic flowers. You can order them from Amazon, eBay. If I find the name of the shop, I'll put the details below. But my friend took me to this store and it was like fake flower heaven, like literally rows and rows of every flower you could imagine, but just the faux type. So literally we bought the flowers. They come like individually with the stems, or sometimes they come in like a bunch of 3 or 2. And it was actually my father-in-law that put the bouquets together. And all you need is the flowers, some ribbon, and some pins and maybe some tape, and that's literally it. And it was really nice because a lot of my bridesmaids kept the flowers and they still have them in their apartments and their homes now, and you know, they're not going to die. You can still use them, you can use them around the house. So I think that's another way to really like save money, because I think in total to make bouquets for all 6 of my bridesmaids I spent £35, which was a little bit more than what the price of one bouquet of real flowers would have been for one bridesmaid. So these are the kind of places where you can kind of save your money on. Another tip for saving money is gowns. So I had seen loads of these gowns online that say bridesmaids on the back of them. I checked tons of different websites and I just wasn't happy with the prices of them, if I'm being honest. And I couldn't envision my bridesmaids wearing them again. So these were the gowns that they wore. They're from Primark. I think they were literally £5.50 each, or like £6 each. It was a really cute design. It looked really nice. It looked different. And it was something that they could wear over and over again. I didn't even wear on my wedding day, but I bought one for myself just because I liked the print so much. So again, think outside of the box in terms of, sometimes we think that we have to have specific things. You have to have the bridesmaid's gown. No, you don't. You can buy a cheap gown that looks really pretty, that they can wear over and over again, and it's something different as well. So my next tip is all about bundle deals. So when it comes to your honeymoon, it's something that you can do in advance, because at that point, you know when you're going to go on honeymoon and you know when your wedding date is going to be. So there's loads of companies that do bundle deals where you can really get the most out of it. You can prepay for excursions, for example. A lot of the times that makes it cheaper. You can pre-plan it and kind of really arrange what activities you're going to do and budget for it in advance, as opposed to getting to the country that you're going to for your honeymoon and then wanting to do this or wanting to do this excursion. So I really think it's important to plan out your entire honeymoon, all the things that you want to do. If you just want to chill at the hotel and you're not really going to go anywhere, then that's fine. But again, it's just really anticipating all of those small little things. So when it comes to your honeymoon, it's not just the flights and the hotels. Really think about what you're going to do in the country. And again, look for the best deals and do it ahead of time as opposed to doing it when you arrive. The next tip, buy things in the sale season that you know you can keep. So way ahead of my wedding, there were certain things that I bought during the summer sales that I knew I could just keep in a box and just wait until my wedding day. An example, perfume. Perfume is not going to go off date. It's not going to disappear. It's not going to break unless you break it. So I bought my perfume bottle during the summer sales and got it for like half price as like a gift set, which came with like a miniature and a lotion, etc. My earrings, for example, I bought ahead of time during the sale. Lingerie and like underwear and PJs and like all that fancy stuff I bought during the sale. Clothes for my honeymoon. So I got married in October, and if I had tried to buy summer clothes then, I would have been buying it online at premium prices. So I made use of all the summer sales towards the end of summer, and then I just kept the items. So again, don't wait till the last minute, which I think sometimes we do when it comes to these small, minute details. Look ahead of time, and also use Groupon for things like waxes, massages, anything that you want to do to kind of treat yourself prior to the wedding. Do it ahead of time. Find the best deals, find the best vouchers that you can find. And then, yeah, you just save yourself lots of money. Another tip is, where possible, try and pay for things in installments as opposed to all at once. It really helps with your cash flow. I know that this is something that I experienced when I was buying my wedding dress. So I had the money for my dress, everything was sorted, and as I was putting the paperwork through, she asked me whether I wanted to do it in installments. I could choose the installments, it was interest free, but there was something in my mind that was just like, no, be responsible, pay for it all, and then it's all done. And I remember I called my husband and I was just like, actually, or my fiance at the time, and I was like, actually, am I being silly, or does it actually make sense to just spread it out, and that way it will help with cash flow? So I think where possible, do that. If it means that you have to speak to your vendors, or you have to speak to the people that you are buying things off and seeing if this is something that they offer, then ask. If you don't ask, you won't get. The next tip, do some things yourself. Nowadays, especially when it comes to online and design, there's sites like Canva, there's free templates that you can download off Google. There is literally no excuse as to why you cannot create something that looks magnificent at minimum cost. So we chose not to do wedding invites because when I looked at how much they cost, like, it actually made no sense. And the thing is, again, it goes down to, you can have something that you think would look really nice, etc. But if the money just doesn't make sense, it just doesn't make sense. We were having a destination wedding, and I found, if I find it, I'll insert it, the cutest little invites that was like a passport, and then the ticket was the invitation, and then inside it had like a, to-do list for your, for the wedding and for what to pack and etc. And when I looked at how much it would cost for us to print all of this, I was like, why am I spending the money on this? It just doesn't make any sense to me. So we spent, I think, £30 on our template for our wedding website, and we did it through appycouple.com. An amazing website, super easy to use. All of the templates are already there for you. You pick the template you want, and then literally all you do is fill in the details. You can choose what pages you want. It also is great for your guests because it means that nowadays everyone just uses their phone, everything is electronic. So all the details are in one place, and again, it saves a ton of money. with regards to your wedding programs, for example, or your menus for your reception. Again, these are things that you can do yourself. Canva, I am such a big Canva advocate. If you guys do not know Canva, please Google it because you will thank me later. You can literally create anything on there, from a presentation for work to a wedding invitation to a social media post. All the templates are there, and honestly the stuff looks so amazing once you finish it. So I literally created all of the menus for our reception and then found like a local printer that could print it in mass at a cheap price. When it comes to budgeting and planning your wedding, it is so important to be open-minded. So I will give you an example. When it came to our wedding, when we were trying to find our groomsmen's suits, let me just tell you now, finding groomsmen's suits that fits all of them well, that they all like, that looks flattering on everyone's body types, and don't even get me started on bridesmaids dresses and how hard it is to find those. It can be something that is very, very difficult, and you can end up spending quite a bit of money on it. So my husband came to me with this idea of getting the suits from Amazon. Suits. I was like, no, what are you talking about? Amazon is not what you use for suits. Amazon, we buy batteries, we buy random things for the house that we don't really need. We all do it. What are you buying suits off Amazon for? So he literally was like, look, I found this supplier on Amazon. The suits look amazing. I told him it's a scam. I was like, you are going to lose money. This is not going to work. And he was like, look, just trust me. I'm going to order one and let's just see what it looks like. When I tell you this thing came in the post, it looked amazing. And I was so shocked. And I thought, you know what, had I not been open-minded and actually said, you know what, it's cool, order this one little sample and let's see how it goes. The prices that we were seeing in other places was so much more expensive. I mean, if I'm being realistic, I think we actually spent like £60 or £80 max on like a full 3-piece suit that actually looked amazing. All of the guys loved the suits. There's no way, had I not told you, that you would have known the suit came from Amazon. There's no way. So again, be open-minded, explore. Don't just take one person's advice, or don't just take the first thing you see as Bible. Like, do your research, think outside of the box, because you will be amazed at the things that you can find. So I really, 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 really think it's important to be open-minded, because that will lead you to saving some serious coin. The next tip, I've said it before, I'm gonna say it again. Be realistic. One more time. Be realistic. I am somebody that is pretty good with money. I'm good at not splurging. I'm not somebody that really likes to shop. I'm not over extravagant. However, even the best of us get excited when it comes to our wedding. I'll give you an example. So I'd bought my shoes, which I've shown you guys, really affordable, really beautiful, simple. So I thought to myself, I'm gonna need some sandals to change into in the evening so that I can be comfortable and free, etc. So I see these sandals in June. They were beautiful. It was like a tan sandal. It had like little crystal diamantes on it, and it just looks cute. And I was like, you know what? I really want it. It looks bridally. And then the price of it was like £65 for sandals. Where am I wearing it again? Is it Gucci? It's June, like it's a force. So I think, again, sometimes you kind of have to like snap yourself out of it. And I literally had to be like, Bethel, you don't need that. Like, yeah, it's nice. No one's gonna see it. You can get it for yourself if you want to, but do you really need £65? I saved £60 on that. I went to Primark and I bought a really cute pair of simple flats with like a thick strap on it, which had like loads of like glittery diamante, like whatever beads you want to call it on it. And I still wear it today when I go on holiday or around the house or wherever. So again, that's £60 that I saved that I would have spent on sandals that really I didn't need and I wouldn't really have worn or got that much use out of. So before every purchase, just pause, take a minute and just be like, do I need this? If I don't need it, do I really, really want it? Like, is this something that is really going to make me happy, or something that I am willing to spend this amount of money on? If it's not, then just pause, allow yourself to have that reality check yourself, and then move on and find something at a cheaper price, because you will be amazed at how many things you will purchase that are so unnecessary that you've done just in the hype of, oh, it's my wedding and I'm getting this for myself and I'm getting this for myself. So one of the biggest tips that I think I could give is to be realistic. So the last tip, and actually one of my favorite, is it's not just about the wedding. When you're budgeting for your wedding, you are budgeting for life after the wedding. And I'm not talking about the honeymoon. I'm talking about when you guys are actually living your day-to-day life. I think one of the best things that you can do is to save at least 2 months of rent and living expenses in advance. Also, to assess how your finances are going to change after your wedding. So to give you an example, I went from living in zone 1 prior to my wedding to living in zone 5. So my travel card went more than double. I used to pay like, I think £110 for a monthly travel card, and I now pay like £265 for a travel card. So these are things that I had to think about prior, because yeah, it's all well and good, you've paid off your wedding, etc. But if you're now paycheck to paycheck and life is just tight, you're not going to enjoy the beginning stages of your marriage, because finance is then going to become a burden. So I think it's really important to take a moment, put your wedding budget to one side, and just figure out, okay, what are we going to need in order to survive for the first few months until we kind of get on our feet and we get into a routine after marriage. That could be looking at changes in finance. So like I said, how my travel card changed. It also depends on what your living arrangements are going to be. Does one person have a house and you're just going to move into that house and everything is going to be fine? As for me and Marvin, we both went from living with our parents to now living in our own space. So we both came with hardly anything. So we had to buy a new sofa, furniture, kitchen appliances, etc. So we had a separate budget next to our wedding budget that had everything that we would need for our home. And that also meant that sometimes we had to take budget outside of wedding and be like, you know what, that can chill, that's not that important. This is money that can go towards our sofa, which is more important and something which we are actually going to need after the wedding. So I think it's really important on your Excel spreadsheet, the wedding is on one side, but also figure out how much money you're going to need to live life afterwards. Because I promise you, I think one of the things that I do not regret is the fact that at the beginning of my marriage, I really didn't have to like stress and worry about how are we going to pay for this? How are we going to pay for that? Oh my God, this bill has now come up. Oh my God, now we have to pay council tax, etc., etc. Like all of these tiny things we considered, we wrote down, we had it budgeted, we had it planned, and it really made sure that we kept things in check and we kept things in perspective as well. Because at the end of the day, yes, your wedding is beautiful. Your wedding is the beginning of your marriage. It's a huge celebration. It's arguably one of the most important days of your life. But the reality is it's a day. Like it's literally one day. And the amount of money that you can possibly spend on your wedding, if you allow yourself, you can spend it in the millions. So it's really important that you put things in perspective, figure out what is important to you, figure out what is not that important to you, and figure out what you are going to need for your marriage and not just for your wedding. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope that you've been able to take some tips and tricks that you can implement when you're planning your wedding and when you're doing your budget. Take a note of the things that I will put in the description bar for you guys so that you can go online and you can check them out for yourself. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up. Also, talk to me in the comments. I want to have a conversation with you guys. Let me know what was your favorite tip, what you implemented, or maybe some things that you did when you were planning your own wedding. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to see you guys soon. Bye.